things have been going really poorly for Ubisoft when it's come to Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it seems like they're only getting worse because now we're finding out the new release date is actually on the anniversary of the worst modern domestic terrorist attack in Japanese history, which is another wildly tone-deaf Ubisoft move towards Japanese culture. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, if this had been the only kind of controversy this game was steeped in, I wouldn't think too much about it. I would say, okay, it was clearly a mistake. It is what it is. A lot of people are going to be able to look past this, but it is yet another problem for this game that just proves that Ubisoft is in fact not doing their research on Japanese culture and history, and they really do not care about our feedback. So Ubisoft's handling of Assassin's Creed Shadows has sparked yet another controversy, this time over its newly announced release date. It says the game, delayed twice already, is now slated to launch on March 20th, 2025, which makes sense. I always thought it was going to get delayed because there were too many games launching in February. At the end of January, you have Hello Kitty Island Adventure. A lot of people have been talking about that because of the meme that it is. Then a few days later, you have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is going to be a massive launch. You had Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is no more, then Avowed and Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, out of those, I think that Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be the biggest, but I also think Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is going to dominate for the full month. I do believe that Avowed is going to get kind of swept under the rug. I don't think a lot of people are really going to be paying attention to it. Sure, it's free if you have Game Pass. Play it that way if you want, but it really does not have a lot of hype surrounding it. And now you have Ubisoft moving the release date of Shadows, but to a very questionable date. So it is on a date now that marks the 30th anniversary of the Tokyo subway sarin attack, Japan's deadliest modern terrorist incident. This is a nightmare for them. Now, like I mentioned, if this was the only kind of controversy they were steeped in at this point, it wouldn't be all that questionable. A lot of people wouldn't be talking about it. But the fact of the matter is that they have a track record when it comes to bad decisions and disrespecting Japanese individuals. The problem is that Ubisoft has already insulted Japanese gamers and culture multiple times. As you can see, Ubisoft trashed after Assassin's Creed Shadows debut new collector's collectible featuring Yasuke and Noe alongside what appears to be a destroyed Torii Gate. Ubisoft Japan apologizes for using the Japanese reenactment group's banners without permission in Shadows, and then Japanese gamers launched a whole petition to cancel this game, saying it is a serious insult to Japanese culture and history. So, hearing about this new release date and the awful event that happened on it, and this is the 30th anniversary of that event happening, it really just makes me question why they are not learning from their mistakes. I know Ubisoft is really struggling right now, and I'm sure internally they're panicking, but they could have done a little bit more research. They could have moved it back a few days or forward a few days, and it would have been perfectly fine. But this is not the case. Now, there is another pretty big game launching on this same day, Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is very cool, and I don't have a problem with that launching on this date because it's a wildly different situation. Shadows is supposed to be a game that's a representation of Japanese culture and history, and at this point, all it's done is try to rewrite and disrespect Japanese history, as opposed to Xenoblade Chronicles that releases on the same day that doesn't deal with any of these topics. It's a fantasy sci-fi game. Nothing in it is supposed to resemble in any way anything from the real world where Assassin's Creed is. You can say that it's a stretch all you want, but the entire Shadows game is a stretch, judging by the content that's in it. Look at Yasuke. It's a fictional version of this person. It's a fallacy they tried to represent as being something that was based on actual events. That's why I'm sitting here criticizing Shadows on this release date now. It's why I've criticized them in the past, and they've done a hell of a lot worse over the months too. They have not followed procedures to get permission to use specific cultural landmarks. They've included other cultures like Chinese buildings and lettering in a Japanese game. They've lied about cultural consultants. There's AI art in the game. These are all problems. And this one, with this release date, is just yet another to add to the pile. And yeah, sure, it might not be as important as something like disowning the fact that they're using AI art or they've put inaccurate architecture into the game, but it's still a very questionable decision. Now, I had actually put up a post on this. It's gotten quite a lot of traction, and I thought it would be pretty funny to read a few of the responses. And there are some people saying, oh, it's totally a stretch and it's perfectly fine if you view it that way, but I do not, and a lot of other people do not either. Some individuals think that this is Ubisoft targeting Japanese people and intentionally disrespecting them. At this point, it's really hard to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, these are just mistakes, because they've made so many mistakes at this point, if they truly are. Nobody really knows or remembers. Oh, now that's bad timing. Holy shit, this game is cursed. They can't do anything right. Granted, Ubisoft does this to themselves, but I think it's a reach. That's what happens when Ubisoft has no proper Japanese consulting or helping guide game direction. It's so true, and it's so sad, because Ubisoft used to be such a massive company in the industry, and they, over the years, have definitely fallen off of the perch they once were on. As you can see, Ubisoft is seemingly prepping for bankruptcy ahead of Assassin's Creed Shadows release, as past failures spell almost certain doom. It's sad, but it really is inevitable given the decisions that they've made over the years. So I, of course, will be keeping my eye on Assassin's Creed Shadows. I do still think that it's going to sell a certain amount. I do still think it's going to sell okay, because there are so many people who know the franchise and see Assassin's Creed and get really nostalgic and really excited. And I totally and completely understand that. At the end of the day, we are talking about games. And if you still feel like you want to buy this, you should go for it. You should buy it. You should enjoy it. But this is very important to point out, at least in my opinion, and I do think that they are still going to struggle with release. I mean, every teaser and trailer they've launched has gotten ratioed to hell and back. I don't see that changing anytime soon. And they said that they delayed it by the month for further refinement, but I don't know what they could possibly be refining at this point, when that was the excuse when they delayed it several months ago, back in September. So it just seems that they're kind of panicking, and they keep pushing the release date off, when really they should just delay it and not give us a release date until it's actually ready to release. So I'll be keeping my eye on this. I'm sure that they're going to release more promotional material that's going to get completely ratioed by gamers, but this is a very questionable move, and I can't say I'm shocked given Ubisoft's history with this game. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.